Have you guys ever seen I Am Legend? What about Air Bud or Cujo? There's Cats vs. Dogs, 101 Dalmatians, Beverly Hills Chihuahua, Marley and Me, or even the classic American staple, Old Yeller. There's one thing all these movies have in common. Dogs. Man's best friend. Well, except in the case of Cujo. Why are we talking about dogs? Well, because dogs are important. Once a dog enters the scene, everything changes, and oftentimes they become the point of focus for the audience and the character many people latch onto just as much as the protagonist. They can represent anything from a person's last hope, a terrifying monster, or the hero there to save the day. Dogs are so important to the audience that they can be the determining factor in whether somebody will even watch a movie, as evidenced by the popular website doesthedogdie.com, something several people I know, including myself, have used to avoid the heartbreak of watching a dog die in a film. Dogs may not be able to speak, and they often aren't at the center of the plot, but the time on screen they have is powerful and always leaves its mark. Let's take Sam from I Am Legend, for example, our protagonist's best and only friend, and one of the only things allowing him to keep it together. Sam is with us throughout our journey, traveling alongside protagonist Dr. Robert Neville and keeping him company. We see that despite the circumstances, Neville is able to find solace in Sam's presence and is able to negate the loneliness of the situation, though he may look a little bit off balance while doing so.
Morning, Hank. Midway through the G's.
He's doing the best he can do given the situation, and Sam helps him do his best. Neville confides his feelings in Sam, he talks to Sam, he asks Sam for advice, and he takes Sam's advice. He takes care of them, and ultimately he does all he can to ensure Sam's and his own survival.
What am I supposed to say? Hello. Want to see some infected rats? Okay, tomorrow. I'm gonna say hello tomorrow.
It's only in an ambush set up by the quote-unquote monsters of the film that Neville fails to protect Sam and she gets hurt. This leads us to a heartbreaking sequence of Neville trying and failing to save Sam's life and ultimately putting her down as she turns. It's this scene, this sequence, that stands out to most who've seen the film as the defining moment they remember. The point in the movie where it just takes your heart and snaps it in half. Sam's death leads Neville down a dark path where he almost commits suicide attempting to get a fool's revenge, which ultimately is what puts him where he needs to succeed on his ultimate mission. It's thanks to Sam that Neville was able to survive for as long as he did and accomplish his goal.
Promise, my friend, that I would say hello to you today.
Quite on the opposite side of the spectrum from the protective Sam is Cujo, a big, beautiful beastie at the start of the film, bitten by a bat and turned into a rabid, ravenous monster. Cujo starts his movie like many movie dogs, big and lovable, a family pet. The family we're following, though, is not this dog's owner, and our main character, upon seeing the lovable Cujo for the first time, is struck with fear. As the movie goes on, we see this fear is justified, Cujo turning from the lovable family dog to a movie monster thanks to the rabies virus. It's this terrifying movie monster that inspired a fear of dogs in so many, and prevented so many from getting those lovable fur babies in their own home. Cujo's influence lasted in the zeitgeist for quite some time, as not only one of Stephen King's most popular books, but one of his most popular movies as well. With creatures like this roaming the silver screen, it's no surprise that many have a misplaced fear of St. Bernards. A complete change of pace from these movie dogs is Air Bud. Air Bud wasn't just a friend of kids, he was cool, he was awesome, he could dunk. Air Bud was the fascination of many children, and this spawned a whole franchise of movie after movie of dogs doing amazing and impossible things to the joy of everyone watching. I can remember the first time I saw Air Bud, and it blew my little kid mind. Of course, I knew it was fake, but that didn't matter. The movie made me want one thing, a dog, and I'm sure it did the same for many others, inspiring kid after kid to beg their mom and dad to let them go and get their own Air Bud, like they needed any more excuses to ask. Even in just these limited examples, it's easy to see the diverse way that media tends to portray dogs and the different ways they can be used to inspire. Media holds power in the way it presents things, and has a massive influence over whole generations of people and the way they'll view something. While a certain piece of media's influence may not universally affect everybody the same way, it can still become a part of the zeitgeist and help shade certain topics. Whether it's all dogs in apocalypse video games suddenly being German shepherds thanks to I Am Legend, or the St. Bernard adoption rate dropping just a little bit thanks to the big and not so friendly Cujo.